Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Shreya Dhoundial. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching the Urban Debate. Our top lead this evening. Uttarakhand has become the first state in independent India to implement the Uniform Civil Code. What changes for citizens of Uttarakhand? The good, the bad and the ugly, that's coming up at the top of 8 this evening. Talking of ugly, the Delhi elections have turned downright poisonous, ladies and gentlemen. Can Arvind Kejriwal's claims of the BJP trying to orchestrate mass murders in Delhi be taken seriously? That debate is coming up at 8:30 p.m. And finally, wanting to be taken seriously is India's first YouTuber Neta. Why is Meghnad, with a campaign fund of a princely 1.5 lakh rupees, fighting the elections from Delhi when he knows he is going to lose his deposit? Is it to prove a point or simply to create some content? He's joining us in the studios at 8:45 p.m. But before that, a quick check as always of the big headlines. The poll tussle in the national capital is turning toxic. The Aam Aadmi Party is accusing the BJP's Haryana unit of trying to orchestrate genocide. Arvind Kejriwal is alleging that the party is deliberately mixing poison in the Yamuna water that is supplied to Delhi to create chaos in the city. Atishi, the chief minister, is saying 30% of Delhi will run dry from today onwards. Haryana's chief minister has hit back, saying that the Aam Aadmi Party has a habit of blaming others for their failings. Devbhoomi Uttarakhand becomes the first state in independent India to enforce the Uniform Civil Code. It lays a framework for uniform marriage, divorce, inheritance and adoption laws for all citizens. Chief Minister Dhami has hailed UCC as a bold reform for gender equality, but the opposition is calling it divisive. They are vowing to move the court. That debate, top of 8 this evening. There's a showdown over the Waqf bill in the JPC meet. The panel adopts all amendments proposed by the BJP-led NDA and rejects every change proposed by the opposition members. The JPC chairperson is saying that the amendments passed will result in a better bill, but opposition MPs are crying foul. They are accusing Jagdambika Pal of subverting the democratic process. Home Minister Amit Shah takes a holy dip in the Mahakumbh. Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge stokes a row with his remark, accusing the BJP leader of turning the sacred ritual into a competition. The BJP hits back, says, why does the Congress hate Hindus so much? Ahead of the Mahakumbh, airfares to Prayagraj have skyrocketed, with a Delhi-Prayagraj air ticket crossing 23,000 rupees between the period 5th to 11th of February and a round-trip fare from other cities crossing 50,000 rupees. The centre has stepped in, urging airlines to regulate prices and ensure affordability for devotees. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a telephonic conversation with America's President Donald Trump. This is their first conversation after Trump's mega swearing-in ceremony. And accolades pile up for India's fast-bowling spearhead, Jasprit Bumrah, who has been crowned ICC Men's Test Cricketer of 2024. The prestigious accolades come after a sensational year where the bowler took 71 wickets in just 13 matches. And ladies and gentlemen, just take a look at this. These are the pictures of the ongoing Mahakumbh, which have been caught not from Earth, but from space. A NASA team aboard the International Space Station has shared images of the event, showcasing the sprawling city glittering amidst a sea of black. Ladies and gentlemen, the Uniform Civil Code has officially kicked in the hill state of Uttarakhand. It is the first state in independent India to adopt the code that establishes uniformity in how marriages, divorce, inheritance, and adoption are governed. They'll be the same for all communities and religions except the tribals. Of course, in Uttarakhand's case, what has made headlines are the rules governing live-in relationships that border on moral policing. But then there are strong positives in the UCC as well that deserve attention, like a ban on polygamy and bigamy. Today, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami launched the UCC portal and issued a notification formally marking the adoption of the Civil Code. This makes Uttarakhand the first state in independent India to adopt the UCC. And before the Goans get upset with me, let me add that the Goans have had a common civil code even before they became part of independent India. They inherited it from the Portuguese. Now, the implementation of the civil code has sparked a rather uncivil debate. Listen in.
आज का ये दिन जैसा मेरे से पहले बोलने वाले वक्ताओं ने बताया कि आज का ये दिन ऐतिहासिक दिन है और ये केवल हमारे राज्य के लिए ही नहीं बल्कि पूरे भारतवर्ष के लिए आज ये बहुत ऐतिहासिक दिन है क्योंकि आज हम समाज में समानता स्थापित करने से उद्देश्य से बनाई गई समान नागरिक संहिता को देवभूमि उत्तराखंड में लागू करने जा रहे हैं और इसी क्षण से उत्तराखंड राज्य के समस्त नागरिकों के संवैधानिक और नागरिक अधिकार एक समान हो गए हैं और इसी क्षण से सभी धर्म की महिलाओं को समान अधिकार प्राप्त हो गए हैं। ये क्षण मेरे लिए आज सच में बहुत भावनात्मक क्षण है क्योंकि जो हमने संकल्प लिया था 2022 के विधानसभा चुनाव में अपने प्रदेश के देवतुल्य नागरिकों से जो हमने वायदा किया था आज हम वो वादा पूरा कर रहे हैं।
एक महान पवित्र दिन में एक आप ऐसे कदम को लागू करने की सोच रहे हैं जो किसी न किसी रूप में विवादास्पद है, जो केवल राजनीतिक उद्देश्य किया जा रहा है। 26 जनवरी एक महान दिन है। हम आज के दिन गणतंत्र बने हैं। हमारा संविधान आज हमको मिला है, जिस संविधान के बलबूते पर हम एक महान राष्ट्र बनने की दिशा में अग्रसर है। अब उस दिन ये ऐसे विवादास्पद चीजों को लागू करेंगे एक पवित्र दिन में,
जिनको कोई न यूनिफॉर्मिटी न सिविल न कोड से मतलब है। देश की विविधता के मद्देनजर जब व्यापक बहस के बाद पार्टीशन के बाद पाया गया कि आपसी सौहार्द रिस्टोर करना सबसे पहले आवश्यक है, समुदायों के बीच में विश्वास का एक माहौल बने, आपने उस विश्वास को तो 47 से बुरी हालत में लाकर रख दिया है यहाँ। तो इसको डॉग विसिल पॉलिटिक्स मत बनाइए।
Now, we don't believe in mindlessly criticizing the Uttarakhand Civil Code, which is why we have delved into the good, the bad, and the ugly of this law. Let's take a look at the good first. In the good column, the UCC is promising equal property and inheritance rights for daughters, which is a significant step towards gender equality. It is also banning polygamy and bigamy across all communities. So that's good. However, the bad side of the UCC introduces some exemptions. Tribal communities, for example, are exempted from this inclusivity push, creating concerns about uniformity. If the tribals are not added, how is this a uniform civil code? Additionally, these exceptions could potentially lead to further dilution of the bill, raising questions about its long-term impact. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we finally have the ugly aspects. The law mandates mandatory registration for couples in live-in relationships under the age of 21, which many people see as completely unnecessary intrusion into personal lives. Furthermore, it makes parental consent mandatory for couples below the age of 21, sparking debates on autonomy and personal freedom. And it doesn't stop there. In case you do not register your live-in relationship, you could face a jail term of 3 months, up to 3 months. Now, the Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code has not been challenged in the court so far. Actually, it did, but then the challenge was thrown out. And that's largely because the Supreme Court has historically been leaning towards having a uniform civil code. After all, even Article 44, under the directive principles of state policy, had stated that the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India, which means that our founding fathers had wanted that once the country is ready, the UCC should be put in place. But question is the Uttarakhand model worth being replicated across India? That's what we are discussing. My guest this evening, Manish Barriar, is a political analyst, will be speaking on behalf of the BJP. At least his views are aligned with the BJP. Shashank Shekhar Jha, lawyer at the Supreme Court. Thank you very much. Tehseen Poonawalla is a political analyst joining us on the broadcast. And Nisam Pasha is an advocate in the Supreme Court. He is joining us on the show as well. Thank you all very much. Let me start with Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla, is it completely fair to say that this is not the Uniform Civil Code? This is the Hindu Civil Code. How is this the Hindu Civil Code? If polygamy and bigamy are banned for Muslim women, they are banned, I mean, if they are banned for the Muslim community, they are banned for the Sikh community as well, for the Hindu community as well. So how is this Hindu? And how is this Hindu? Are Muslims in Uttarakhand being told to start going to the mandir instead of the masjid? Or, to have saat pheras when they get married and not a nikah? Is that criticism at least unfair?
Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you so much for having me on the show. No, I won't call this the Hindu Civil Code. I will call this the Uttarakhand Civil Code. It's not a uniform civil code. It's nothing uniform about this code. For one, our tribal fellow citizens have been left out of the ambit. So if the end goal is justice for women, do tribal women not deserve justice? When we talk about tribals, I'm talking about the affidavit of the present union government in the Honorable Supreme Court. The most amount of polygamy is amongst tribal fellow citizens and amongst them Hindu tribals. So then why are again tribals across the nation being kept out of this, the UCC that is being conceived across the nation? Again, what about polyandry? There are various states in India where there is polyandry that's prevalent. What happens to that in customs of the tribals? Let me address two things. Yes, the Goa Uniform Civil Code prior to independence and now the Uttarakhand Civil Code. In Goa, a Hindu man above the age of 30, if he has a girl child, he is allowed by law to marry a second time. The Goa Chief Minister, speaking to Times Networks, defended this law, the present Goa Chief Minister, and said, no, this law does not need to go. In the state of Gujarat, from where the most honorable Prime Minister and the most honorable Home Minister hail, there is a pratha called Maitri Karar, where a married man can officially have a girlfriend, a contracted girlfriend. The last 30 years, the BJP has been in government. Do those women not deserve justice? Yes, you're right that polygamy is banned amongst Hindus. Yet it is the government in its own affidavit and that says that most amount of polygamy is amongst Hindus, as I said earlier, amongst tribals. And the most underage marriage, according to Pew Research, girls below the age of 10, 80% of them are our Hindu girls. How many people have been arrested for this? As many as the Honorable Prime Minister's press conferences, 0. The fact is, the BJP wants to make this a Hindu-Muslim issue, and there are Muslim scholars who are playing along with the BJP to polarize the issue. Let me just add and end with one thing. If we want one law in one nation, which is a civil law for marriage, divorce, and inheritance, there already exists such a law, the Special Marriage Act. From Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Manipur to Mumbai, there is one law in this country. 2 Hindus, 2 Muslims, a Hindu Muslim, a Sikh Christian, what have you, can get married in that law. That law already exists. And then there's the Inheritance Act, under which you have a secular inheritance. Why are you only trying to make this perceptionally a Muslim act? Because the BJP will gain from it, and the same Muslim fundamentalists or Muslim right-wingers who will want to gain by polarizing this by this law. Why could you not amend a Muslim personal law to end a pratha of, say, polygamy in that? They don't want to do it because their end goal is not justice. Their end goal is polarization.
Tehseen, the point is, okay, that is a point of view, but the point also is, even our founding fathers, while the Constitution was being written, envisaged that when the country is ready for it, Baba Sahib Ambedkar said no government will be mad enough to impose it on a society that is not willing or prepared. But he did say that when the country is ready, the UCC should step in, should kick in, should be implemented. What is the harm? I mean, you know, I understand this being made a Hindu-Muslim issue क्योंकि उससे TRP आता है, हर चीज Hindu-Muslim बन जाता है हमारे देश में. But I still don't agree with you when you say that this is aimed specifically against the Muslims. I mean, if I don't agree with this, their entire clause about live-in relationships, for example. Yeah. But the fact is that if young couples are in live-in relationships and they have to register, Hindu couples also have to register, and Muslim couples also have to register, and Sikh couples also have to register. Do I think it is moral policing? Yes, I think it is moral policing, but this is uniform moral policing. Yeah, against Muslims specifically, to nahi hai na?
No, there are again two aspects. The moral policing is uniform, but it will be used to target people of different faiths and different castes. How do you know the data won't be leaked out? In the Special Marriage Act, when you go to court to get married, we've had several cases covered by your sister organization, covered by your organization, and by the Times Group itself, of these vigilante waiting outside to prevent couples of different faith from getting married. How do you know the government and their goons will not enter your bedroom? And if 18 is your legal adult age, why is 21 being described by the government? Why is this arbitrary number of 21 coming in? And if I am 18 and above and I don't want my parents to know who I'm living with, why does the government have to intervene in that? That is the first part. Second part, I completely agree that in one nation you should have one civil code. I'm all for it. You already have it, the Special Marriage Act and the Inheritance Act. Why are you not talking about it? Third, let me quote somebody to you. Nature does not like uniformity. Nature likes diversity. India is a diverse country, and we should make sure that this diversity is never lost. In an interview to 1973, this liberal voice was of Guruji Golwalkar to the organizer. Was Guruji Golwalkar also wrong? The RSS and the Bharatiya Jansangh started their entire political journey opposing the UCC. It is now only a bridge to either target the minorities or the other castes. I'm again asking you the question, why does the government have to be in the bedroom of youngsters? Number two, if this is uniform, why not tribals? Why not Gujarat? Why not Goa? The examples that I've given you. Why not justice for those? Why not polyandry justice for our tribal women in other parts of the country? Why aren't they talking about that?
No, the Haryana and Gujarat are already saying that they'll be the next two states to implement the UCC. Question is, will they follow the Uttarakhand model as it were? We don't know. We'll wait and watch. But Manish Barriar, would you want to come in here? Tehseen is very clear that the UCC is not about gender justice. It is not about giving justice to Muslim women as the BJP has pitched it, as Pushkar Singh Dhami has pitched it. It is essentially to target the minority community. Even when it comes to these live-in relationships ka registration, they are saying it is couples who are Hindu-Muslim couples. It's to target them and stop them from living in together is why this clause has been added. How do you respond to that?
Good evening, Shreya ji, and good evening to all the viewers. Thanks for having me here. So, obviously, I'm going to strongly disagree with what Tehseen ji is speaking. See, this polarization, let me take up one by one. He's talking about polarization. So, on one hand, you talk about BJP polarizing, but you have been talking this for around 15, 20 years. So, is it not enough of polarization? Isn't it? So, how long and, how much you would talk about polarization? Because, every act of a government cannot be about that. You can look at it as a progressive law. When GST came, everybody was criticizing, but look at how GST is the building block of our nation, the kind of the wealth it is creating for the government to really disburse it. You can look at it just as a progressive law because every society has to move on. I think the Indian electorate as well as Indian people have become very mature, and it was time that UCC has to, as you have yourself quoted, that Supreme Court time and again has said that we should bring in UCC. Now, let us look at other countries also. We can look at US, Canada, and some of the Muslim countries also. They have uniform civil code. You have in Korea, Japan, Uzbekistan, you name a country and you have a uniform civil code. In Europe, there are many countries you have uniform civil codes. Are you saying that everywhere it is about Christian and Muslim issues? So, bringing religion into every governance issue, every law, is very, very unfair, and I think it is very diabolical also in that way. You can look at it, this rule, as simply the country is moving one step forward. Let me talk about tribals. Now, tribals, as such, we all know, has still not integrated to the common society in that way. And in many places, in many laws, we have given exceptions to people in Northeast as well as in Kashmir in some issues, right? So there is a case which is there that it will take some time, but I'm sure that most of the laws which come up, they have some exceptions for some time, but slowly and steadily people do get integrated. Let me come to the live-in relationship also. See, if you look at it at ground level, my first point is that why it should be hidden at all, right? It's something which is pretty normal, and normal things should not be hidden. It's not about taking things to a bedroom. Tomorrow, even in because the law talks about that children out of living relationship, they have a legal right. So if there is a legal right, just in case the way marriage is, why should live-in relationship not have registration? Right? Because you need to get legal rights. So these kind of relationships become very complex. I'm sure, you would have heard of a lot of exploitation both ways, of men as well as women, because a lot of times women actually filing cases of rape after living with them for 2 to 3 years. We have number of cases in this society for that. So it is always, and are you doing a crime by being living in? No. So if it's not a crime, where is the question of not registering it? That can make a lot of things, pretty. So I think there is a lot of wisdom in these issues, and Supreme Court judges, many of the honorable judges have come into it. They have seized the matter. I feel that, it is being unnecessarily put it into in a binary, and we are talking about Hindu-Muslim. It has nothing to do with Hindu-Muslims. Everybody is going to benefit out of it.
Okay, Mr. Barriar. Nisam Pasha, you've just heard Mr. Barriar. The point is, if the UCC in Uttarakhand requires marriages to be registered, what is the problem with registering live-in relationships? Specifically, Mr. Barriar is making the argument that under the UCC, all children born out of any union, live-in, marriage, whatever, surrogacy, all children will have a right to inheritance. So the argument is that at least we should know that this couple is in a live-in relationship, so that when the issue comes to inheritance, Mr. Pasha, a child is not denied anything. How do you respond to that?
Thank you, Shreya. Before answering your question, I also want to go back a little and begin at the beginning. First, on whether this is in compliance with, you mentioned Article 44 of the Constitution. Now, you read out Article 44. I just want to read it again. Article 44 was a directive principle, which was a direction to the states to make sure that there's a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. There was no contemplation in the Constituent Assembly of state-wise laws, because then they are by definition not uniform. Even if we have uniform codes in other states, they will not be uniform. Uttarakhand, there will be no uniformity between Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, between Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. So you are replacing one set of diverse laws with another set of diverse laws and pretending that it's in furtherance of Article 44. So first, this is not in furtherance of Article 44, because that, if anything, what was contemplated was a uniform civil code by Parliament throughout the territory of India, not by states where there's a different law in different states. And again, tribals are left out. Persons whose customs are protected under the Constitution are left out. This is actually a law which is only in one state. And I also disagree that this is not a Hindu civil code. It is a Hindu civil code, because the provisions of the Hindu Marriage Act and the Hindu Succession Act have been taken body and soul and thrust down the throat of minorities. This is not actually a consultative process where a common denominator is sought which agrees with the faith of all persons. I'll take some examples. For instance, prohibited degrees of relationship. Now, amongst Muslims and amongst Christians and amongst several South Indian communities, among several communities in India, marriages between persons who are cousins or second cousins are permitted. So why is prohibited degrees of relationship being defined to say that persons who are related by descent from the same grandparents are not allowed to marry? That is thrusting Hindu morality down the throats of minorities. Similarly, if I take the question of divorce, now the world is now moving towards an understanding where when a relationship ceases to be functional when any one of the two parties is no longer into the relationship and wants out. So to make the Hindu law of divorce, which is divorce only for cause, where you have to prove cruelty, where throughout the country we are plagued with the problem that there are false FIRs registered for cruelty, because without that you can't get divorce. So you are now supplanting the law which is applicable to Muslims, where if either of the two parties, either the husband or the wife, wants out of the marriage, no reason has to be given, which is in keeping with the pro-choice jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, in fact, if you look at it. But to say that no, only for cause divorces will be recognized is again thrusting Hindu morality down the throats of minorities. Take restitution of conjugal rights, a completely archaic and inhuman provision where a court can direct a couple to live together even though one of them wants out of the marriage. A judicial order can be passed saying, no, you have to live with this person, which is effectively laying groundwork for marital rape in most cases, because if the woman doesn't want to live with the husband, the court can direct her to live. So to say that this will be applicable to everybody is again thrusting an idea of Hindu morality of marriage as for seven lifetimes down the throat of minorities. So this is a Hindu civil code because this is the same Hindu laws which are now being made applicable to everybody across the religious spectrum only.
Okay, Shashank Shekhar Jha, come in, since you are also a lawyer at the Supreme Court. It's not me saying it, or it's not Mr. Pasha saying it. Fact is that in 2016, even the Law Commission had said a unified nation doesn't necessarily need uniformity, that the UCC is neither desired or recommended. Any case, it has come in place in the state of Uttarakhand. The point that Mr. Pasha is making is a valid one. He's saying either you get UCC across the country, one nation, one law. That makes sense. But in this case, Goa के पास अपना है, अब उत्तराखंड के पास हो गया, कल गुजरात पे हो जाएगा, हरियाणा में हो जाएगा. All provisions will differ. So you're actually creating even more diversity than that exists right now. And apart from diversity, it will also create confusion. So where is the uniform in the civil code?
Namaste Shreya ji and my fellow panelists here. Shreya ji, I completely subscribe to the point that uniform civil code should be applied throughout this country. However, we must understand that the population of this country is 150 crore divided into 29 different states and union territories. So to implement it in a better manner, had Nehru government taken a wise decision in 1955, we could have a uniform civil code implemented all together throughout country in 1955 itself. But because Nehru government in 1955 did not take that decision, that is why in 2025, when we have 150 plus crore population, we are taking it state-wise. Now, there are three aspects to this, Shreya ji, and because I was listening to this entire debate. First is, what is uniform civil code, as in what will happen now? Second, why we are talking about Muslims? And third, why we are excluding the tribal community. So first, what is uniform civil code? It gives equal rights to women and men after marriage. It gives equal rights to son and daughter out of irrespective of their religion. It gives equal rights in the property, in the inheritance, in the maintenance. It gives a proper solution for both husband and wife if they want to come out of the marriage through divorce. So there are multiple issues which will be sorted out. Proper legal age, similar legal age, more rights to women, more rights to female, etc. So these are certain issues, I guess, which even Constitution of India talks about directly in the preamble, saying that equality should be there. Now there is a second aspect, why we are talking about Muslim. Now in 1947, when there was a partition of this country, and in 1950 when in Constitution of this country came, then government of that day thought that, how to take Hindu community forward in a positive manner, and that is why we have a codified bill for Hindus which came into 1955 called Hindu Marriage Act. There we have given certain rights to women, and eventually in course of past 70 years, there has been an enormous growth of the rights which women enjoy in this country if they are Hindu. For example, property rights, child rights, divorce rights, etc. Because Hindu did not even have divorce right before 1955 in multiple of our culture. So we adopted those things, and it has actually benefited Hindu community at large. Now, why we are talking about Muslim community today? Because Muslim community deliberately, by that Nehru government and his successors, have actually taken a backside. Women community of Muslim society has been facing deprivation since past 70 years. They do not have equal rights in their marriages. They do not have equal rights in inheritance. They do not have equal rights in maintenance. Even from Shahbana to Shairabana, they have to go to Supreme Court to seek maintenance, but they are unable to get it. Even in divorce, they get triple talaq. On the other side, they cannot give triple talaq. Muslim men can have polygamy. Muslim women cannot have polygamy. So there are multiple issues which is actually keeping Muslim women deprived. And you read any committee, including Structure Committee report, which says that, Muslim community is actually backward. How they are backward? Because they do not have a codified law. Just 30 seconds more, Shreya ji. They do not have a codified law, so that is why there are too many ambiguity. Even in 2022 and 2023, there are multiple high courts, including Delhi, Himachal, Punjab, etc., which says that, a minor Muslim women can also marry. So these problems will be sorted out through Uniform Civil Code. And last point, just 20 more seconds, Shreya ji.
Tehseen,
Why
essentially more than anything else, the Uniform Civil Code. ठीक है. Okay, Mr. Jha, I've heard you. Tehseen, I have 20 seconds very quickly. Sum total, the way.
But tribal committee.
एक मिनट रुक जाइए. UCC is being pushed. I'm out of time. UCC is being pitched as a tool that gives equal rights to the female gender, whether in the Hindu community or the Muslim community. At that point, I don't think we can have an argument as far as the UCC is concerned.
We do.
If there is no polygamy, if there's no bigamy, if there is no arbitrary talaq, it safeguards a woman.
Except that in the government's own affidavit before the most honorable Supreme Court, this is the Modi government's own affidavit, Ministry of Health Affairs, they say that polygamy is higher amongst Hindu fellow citizens. Now, this was already criminalized and the action taken is zero. As I told you, the Pew Research, more Hindu kids are underage are getting married. The point is, you can have any laws. They don't want to implement those laws. Those laws already exist. What you clearly now, in terms of women justice, what about matriarchal societies where women have more rights? For example, in Meghalaya, women inherited the property. It's not inherited by the men. Why are you taking away their rights to inherit? So under the guise, and again, I'm asking you, Gujarat, why is something called Maitri Karar in the last 35 years where a married man can have a girlfriend officially? Why doesn't you remove that anti-woman provision? You agree that a married woman can officially on record have a girlfriend and have an affidavit for that? This isn't Gujarat. So why aren't you talking about that?
So good now, when the UCC comes in Gujarat, that will be done away with as well. So maybe we do need the UCC in Gujarat and Haryana.
Yet the Chief Minister of Goa told Times Group that if a Hindu man above the age of 30 has a girl child and he wants to marry again, that law will not go. He said this recently in 2024 to your group. Yet the Pramod Savanji, the current Chief Minister, does not want to remove it. This is the mindset of the BJP. They are not doing women justice. If it was for women justice, I would agree. They only want to make polarization aided by Maulanas who want to help them polarize.
Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. I just wanted everyone's views in. I've got that. Thank you so much. This is, of course, a much larger debate. I hope we can have that one day. But Tehseen, thank you very much. Mr. Barriar, thank you very much. Mr. Pasha, thank you very much. And Mr. Jha, good to have you on the show as well. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, a quick break. Up next, what's happening at the Delhi elections? Why is it turning so poisonous? That's up next. Do stay with us.